Everyone wants to live an inspired life, yet so many people search for happiness following the footsteps of peers and taking advice from people who have different values and outcomes to which they're searching. There are people born into wealth, graduated from the best universities in the world, and there are people who have none of that and yet are living extraordinary lives full of fulfillment and reward. The purpose of this podcast is to share insights and strategies that allow you to question the status quo and think freely, so you can design your life and be who you want to be. We get one life. Time is our most valuable asset. I believe that when we're free and able to focus on meaningful work, we become better human beings. This is Always Free, and I'm your host, Jason Graystone.
Welcome to the leading podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. You can connect with Jason on social media and subscribe to the Jason Graystone YouTube channel for weekly videos. Don't forget to also subscribe to the weekly newsletter to receive frequent educational content and action steps to help you design your life so you can be who you want to be. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.
Well, welcome back to the podcast, guys. I hope you're having a good week so far. It's been a rocky one, the old January, hasn't it? I'm not going to lie. But before we get stuck into that, you are now listening to the number one podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. And I don't say that just because everyone says it. I say it because we knocked off Kiyosaki, Tim Ferriss, Tony Robbins, Naval, Gary Vee, all of the other financial gurus or business gurus off of the top spot, and we got to number one. So pat yourself on the back for helping us do that. And I'm absolutely just amazed. I'm very, very grateful to be able to rock up to a microphone, speak some words, reach people. People get value. They vote for the podcast, leave reviews, and it just accelerates and reaches more and more people. It's just an amazing platform, and I'm very, very grateful to be able to be in a position to do this. And I want to thank you again for listening. And if this is the first time you're listening, this is going to be a great episode for you. Very, very timely and very, very current affairs, this one. I was going to talk about employing team and how I recommend doing that in a business to grow your business, but I'm going to save that for next week because I was kind of inspired to talk about something else this week. But if this is the first time you're listening, I do recommend going back to episode 1 as soon as you finish this and binge from there, because there's a massive strategy that lasts about 10, 15 episodes, and it's all in order. So go back there, let me know what you think. Message me once you've got to like 6 or 10 and let me know how you're feeling and how it's helped you. Amazing. So this week, I wanted to touch on, I was having a conversation this week with a friend of mine, James, and another friend of mine, Stuart, and we were on Zoom. And Stuart is one of my brokers, okay? And Stuart's one of the guys that I really, really trust, okay? In the financial industry, brokerage industry, with everything going on at the moment, there's a lot in question. Let's just say that. And Stu's one of those guys who's got a lot of integrity, and he's very honest. He's looking to do. He's got his client's best intentions, and that's really rare in today's day and age. And we was catching up for a chat, and James was on the call because my friend James is also doing some work with my broker. And we were discussing some topics around trading and what was going on. I was really just catching up with an overview on what was happening in the markets and that kind of thing. And we recorded the Zoom call, and at the end of the Zoom call, they didn't realize that it was going to be a call used for this, but we got into this conversation, and it was just a great conversation about everything that's gone on in the stock market, everything that's gone on with GameStop, and everything that really goes on in the background, the dark end that you don't really see too much of. And I said to them at the end, I said, look, this is a great conversation we're having. I would love to put this out to my listeners. So the great thing is they didn't even know, right? So you're going to hear in this conversation, because I'm going to share this conversation with you in just a minute, you're going to hear the integrity and the honesty and the real kind of just the sincerity and integrity of Stuart, and just what we were talking about before they realized it was going out on a public domain. And that's really, really refreshing. So I think you're going to get value from that. But also we're talking about GameStop, right? So look, I touched on it last week. I did a couple of videos on it on YouTube. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please go and subscribe to that. I've got a goal to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. And I'm going for 1 million subscribers in the next 2.5 years. All right. So that's a big goal. We've got a big setup now. We're looking to really hammer home on YouTube, and that's the goal. So if you go over there and you like all the videos, you don't have to do that, but if you hit the like button, it will help me out big time. And if you go and subscribe, that will help us out as well, and I appreciate you for doing that. But lots of great content on there as well. But anyway, we were going to, I was talking about it on YouTube, but essentially what happened this week in the stock market was unprecedented, if you like that word. I don't personally like it. And we essentially saw a group of Reddit community get together, hype up a stock, inflate the price. The price started rocketing. They understood that it was the most shorted market at the, in Wall Street, or one of, and that essentially means that most of Wall Street are betting against that stock, which essentially means that they owe they owe money, okay, if it goes up. And in very, very simple layman's terms, the stock started going up. All of the hedge funds started getting margin call, or had to cover their positions to kind of meet the margin. And that, of course, inflated the stock even more. And then they had to cover again, and then the stock just rocketed to the moon. And there was some interesting things going on. And if you want to know more about that, go and watch my YouTube videos. But I want to share with you this conversation, because if you're interested in the back end side, the brokerage side, or just a conversation that I had, not in the public domain. This is a private conversation I had with my broker and a friend of mine, and you're going to get an insight into what that conversation was about and how it went. And I think you'll get some insights from it that you wouldn't necessarily get anywhere else online. So I think it's valuable. So here's the conversation here.
Anyway, been an interesting week, mate. I was watching your video on GameStop the other day. Actually, it's interesting. Actually.
Yeah, it was very good. That was.
I've been I've loved it. I've been so fascinated with what's going on. I don't take sides or anything like that, and all the kind of stick it to the man and all that. I'm more just fascinated with the movement and what's been able to be achieved. Actually, I'd love your insights on it, Stu, because what do you think? I mean, from what I see, I mean, there's a few things. There's one that, yes, they've got together in a group and tried to push up the price, of which worked. Basically, the guy who started the Reddit group, everything he said would happened, and that's amazing. They've got together, they've discussed ideas, and they've done it right. Then the hedge fund have got the arse, but really, it's no different to what they've done for years. Get together, discuss ideas. The only thing that I think's dodgy is obviously it's not a truly undervalued stock. Like it's all manipulated. So they've kind of. It would be great if Wall Street Bets did it to a stock that was truly undervalued and real. But it isn't. It's all been, and I think that's where the murky water. Because I think if they wanted to go through all the chats in that Reddit group and see people promoting to buy, getting everyone on board, that's highly illegal. And
I saw.
And then on the other side, I just think everyone that's going on about, but the hedge funds and all that, they've been doing it to us. You don't really want to piss them people off too much, because it'll have ramifications on your family's salary. Trust me, like everything, they'll change the way they do things. They'll still keep going because they've got the skills, and it will be your pension that suffers and things like that. So
it was a quote day before yesterday from a guy called Charles Dolan, who's Global Markets Advisory Group. If value is divorced from price, what are you left with? The notion that people can stay insane longer than other people can stay solvent is a problem for the market. The market is there to determine accurate pricing information. And it sort of looks at that, and if value is divorced from price, and this is where a market is created. And at the moment, there was another great quote. this in all my 3 days of trading is the maddest thing I've ever seen. And that really just sort of hit it home for me, was that, that there are people just getting involved in this that have got absolutely no idea, and they're just getting drawn and hooked into this, this bandwagon. And I think you made a very good point. And someone else said, retail on the way up, banks and institutions on the way down. And when they look for a bid to sell, it's the old adage, I've got 5,000 shares to sell there. Well, you've done 10. Well, I want to do them all. Well, the next price is $20 lower. What would you like to do now?
Yeah.
Well, I'll sell the balance there. You've done another 10, sir. Would you like to do any more?
Yeah.
And before you know it,
Yeah.
you're $100, down on the price. And this is the frightening thing. And I think it's people not fully understanding the market forces that are at play here. And you're absolutely right. You don't upset hedge funds and big Wall Street, institutions that have been around for years and years. They're very influential at the SEC. They're very influential in Congress. The moment they start crying foul, they get a lot of ears listening to them. Whereas, Mr. Smith, who's lost $500 because he got squeezed out because he couldn't buy any more, I'm afraid, and that's it. No, he hasn't. And I'm with you. I admire how they've done it. I think there's a level of naivety around thinking that they could turn the tide on something that has been, like this for years and years.
Can I play devil's advocate with you both then? Because you guys know much more about this than me. But do you not think there's part sort of semi-revolutionary stuff in here that's going on with people now?
No, I don't.
I think hedge funds will pay more attention to these communities. I think they'll be looking at those and looking at. But
I think the hedge funds probably see it more as an opportunity, and they'll be watching, and they'll. Yeah, you're right. They will be paying more attention, but I think it will be more of an attention as to opportunities to make even more money to crush these little guys. And I think Robinhood, the model of Robinhood, has definitely been called into question. The whole passing of the order flow to Citadel and that whole ownership structure.
And the Melvin Capital thing.
Melvin Capital, all of this has sort of come out from, what was perceived to be Robinhood, the good guys, clues in the name, taking for the rich, giving to the poor, all about opportunities, but actually completely the opposite. And it is a fascinating time. This is why I love this market, because you look at it last year, March and April, extraordinary times with the COVID and watching volatility and the market crashing and then rallying to all new highs. Crypto, the news around how crypto has moved and how that's now becoming more apparent in everyday life with PayPal and people like that sort of looking to adopt it. And then things like this, around this community spirit. And you're right, Jim, there's an element of it that does feel like it's people power. I just feel like they might have bitten off too much, and that people power against the might of some of these institutions.
Definitely.
And the problem is also there was a quote from Jordan Belfort this morning on Twitter. Not that we never need to hear from that man ever again. But he used a quote from The Wolf of Wall Street, and it was "We're not fucking leaving." In reference to "Don't bail out a GameStop, hold the line" is the hashtag at the moment. Hold the line, and it's extraordinary because it only takes one or two individuals to start saying, "Well, I'm going to get out here," and then they can't, and there isn't an exit price for them, and suddenly panic installs, and you're sitting there with the wife next to you or the girlfriend and saying, "Well, what are you doing?" "Oh, just closing out my position, love. Nothing to worry about." Well, all the time they're thinking, "Well, there goes your kitchen," it's it builds pressure, and when you're not used to that environment, if you're just committed to thinking, "Well, I'm just going to make this make a quick buck like everybody else is, and I'm book my holiday on the back of it," suddenly when you're faced with losing 50% of your money, your mindset is not there, and you're going to panic mode. We're seeing that with silver. Silver's off today 5%, as sort of the drive and the enthusiasm is starting to wane a little bit. 30% off GameStop yesterday. I fancy that comes off again today. And there will be the skill with all of this, as you know, Jason. It's all about timing, and there will be people that get this absolutely spot on, and buy as the rally starts and sell at the top.
This is but it's a very unique situation. I think the fact that the fact that there was more shares being shorted than actually existed was what really it was like a perfect recipe for what happened. And it just, I wish I'd thought of it. I think it's genius what actually happened, but I just think it's not sustainable, and it's going to cause a lot more uneducated people to get involved, a lot more gambling, and there's that whole odd lot theory where the last person that starts talking about it, that's when you know that's going to crash. I think what was the 1929 crash. I think there was a quote that says, when my shoe polisher told me about a stock tip,
and I know to get out of it.
I knew it was going to crash. And my favorite quote of all time is just from Benjamin Graham, where he says, the market is a pendulum that swings between unsustainable optimism, which makes stocks too expensive, and unjustified pessimism, which makes stocks too cheap. And he says the intelligent investor is a realist who sells to optimists and buys from pessimists. And that is like
that is magnificent.
That is my best quote of all time. And
I love that. Who was that? Who was that from?
Jason? Benjamin Graham. Yeah.
Well, we need to have that somewhere. That's fantastic. I love that. And absolutely true today as it ever will be. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's I do think that for us working in this sector, it raises the profile of trading. Everybody's talking about it, but that can have negative connotations. When you get the SEC and FCA and people saying, well, we're looking in, is this market manipulation? Is there anything, and you were saying the other day, Jim, that surely they can't shut these things down. We've seen it before, and if they feel that the market integrity is any way threatened or challenged, then they will take action. It was very interesting that they moved from GameStop into silver. That was an extraordinary, change of direction, and to move that into a physical commodity.
Do you think that's just ego? Like they're just trying to move to the next bigger thing?
It felt like what else can we move? Let's see if we can move this now. I'm waiting for them to say let's give cable a go. Hang on a second, guys. You might have struggled a little bit with that one.
That would be a good experiment, though, wouldn't it? Right? If that would be a good experiment. I mean, I'm not saying that it would be able to change it, but that's what they're probably aiming for. Anyway, look, I don't know this stuff as well as you guys do.
I tell you what, you'd have to be some influential guy.
Perfect cable. Even Donald Trump can't do that. Well, he did.
But he does. Yeah.
What I've been seeing is like YouTubers talking about stocks now. My kid, my Harrison came down a couple of times in the week and said, "Dad, what is like going on? Everyone's talking about stocks." And I was like, "Who?" And he's like, "KSI, all these YouTubers that he watches." Wow. Right? And I think, wow, like some of these have got 7 million followers. Imagine if they start like going, right, I'm going to buy this. Everyone should buy this. I mean, that is.
Well, you go back a few years, Jason, and that's what that basketball player was doing, wasn't he? He was buying all the pink slips, all the crappy stocks at 2 or 3 cents, going on to his followers and then banking it up and then bailing out at 10 cents. The SEC said, "Hang on a second, no." I think they locked him up in the end, didn't they?
But that's the whole point. It leads on to nicely to sort of like following on from where we were before. And look, we were on the phone to a gymnast yesterday, Jason, who's going to hopefully join us as get this ambassador mess out. He's going to go to Tokyo, and we were talking to him yesterday about how he's got his success, and success was hard work and learning and putting the effort in, and and this element of just getting people to just, in a way, not saying we beg them, but we're trying to say to them, just please, whatever you do, just don't go into this stuff with your eyes shut, because you're going to get killed.
My this recent episode, really, you're hearing about it now, it's way too late. It started in 2019 when the stock was $3 or whatever, and then there was the news of them doing partnerships with Microsoft, moving their business online, and all this good news kind of going on in the background. That's when you needed to know about it. And the same with my Bitcoin that I got in. I had a comment the other day, a question, Jason. Do you think Bitcoin is going to continue to go up or crash like it did in 2018 or 17? And I thought to myself, I got in when it was crash. I got in when no one was talking about it, and I got out when everyone was talking about it. And that's what you want, right? So if you're talking about it now, or if everyone's talking about it now, you're 2 years too late or a year too late. And leading up to me getting into that Bitcoin trade, which I got a 657% return on after a 2-year, 2-month period, I'd learned all of the skill which had taken me 10 years. so not only is 10 years of actually learning to get to that point where I'm qualified to actually execute a trade like that, it's then 2.5 years on top of that. And then people see the return and they think, oh, right, I can get in there. Let's just open one of these 212 accounts. And, it's madness, absolute madness.
My 19-year-old nephew phoned me on Friday to say, Stu, I've just started following this guy. He's out in Dubai. He's a crypto genius. So I'm putting some money with him.
Genius.
I wanted to cry. I really did. But, he's an adult. What do I say? I just said to him, look, please be very, very careful what you're doing. Oh, no, it's all right. He makes 9 times out of 10, he makes money. And I'm like, oh, my God. Wow, this is so dangerous. And yeah, it was... it's interesting talking to people, and this whole world of copy trading. I don't know whether you saw, there was an article on BBC. I'll send you the link to it, Jason. Some guy scammed out 17,000 quid copying some guy trading with Infonox, and Infonox had turned around and said, this introducer does not represent the company, and etc. You can't do that. They're a regulated company. They can't just step away from it and say, well, we're not guilty. They know what's going on, and they have a due care and attention to their clients, and they're not doing it. And it's sad. I hope the regulator steps in and
send me that. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, I will. I'll do that. Yeah.
By the way, this whole conversation is great, by the way. And I see you're recording this video. I
wasn't meaning to be, but it wasn't meant to be. But if you wanted to use it as a conversation between you guys.
Well, maybe this could be used as a conversation. All right, guys. So hopefully you enjoyed that discussion. I thought it'd be valuable to share that because it was something that happened behind the scenes. And you guys, you didn't hear it. So I thought I'd share it with you because I got value from it myself. I love having discussions about the markets, and really it just gave you guys an insight about what really goes on, some of the things to look out for that you might not necessarily be aware of. And that's what this podcast is all about, empowering people around finances, empowering people around their wealth, and making sure that they don't take steps back or too many steps back, because building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint, and we don't want people being set back. And if there's anything that I can do to help you not have setbacks and hurdles and instead accelerate forward and bypass mistakes, that's what I'll do. So hopefully you appreciate that. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got value from it. And one last thing, if you got value from this podcast, please like it, share it, and also go over to iTunes and leave me a little review, please. That would just make my weekend. I read every single one. I love them. And until next week, guys, have a great rest of your day and weekend, and I'll see you then.
Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.